How you doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I'm back working on the Jeep, carrying out a service. Today's service, I'm going to be using a K&N recharge kit for the air filter. I'm going to be using an oil filter removal toolkit, some HPR5 5W40 Penrite oil, oil filter, brake cleaner, cabin filter, and some Lucas upper cylinder lubricant. In addition to that, I'll also be using a socket set, oil catch can. Right, so what I'll do before I release the bolt on the bottom of the sump plug, is I'll just unscrew the engine oil filler cap, and that allows air into the system and it lets the oil drain quicker. To remove the oil filter, we'll be using this 908. And as you can see, this is the sump plug, which is a 13mm, and through in the back up there is the oil filter. And as you can see, because of this spout here, which allows the oil to drip down and out here, it's quite difficult to get into the oil filter there for removal. So as I said, what I'll do is I'll use this tool. That just goes onto the bottom of the oil filter, and then I use this key, and then I just turn it anti-clockwise and it'll come out. So what I'll do is I'll get the bucket here on the ground, and then I'll unscrew the sump plug, and then we'll remove the oil from the engine. To remove the sump plug, we turn anti-clockwise. Clean the sump plug. As you can see, this one is reusable. It's got a rubber O-ring to stop any oil leaks, and this will be tightened up to 20 foot-pounds or 27 Newton meters. So I'll just remove any excess oil here, and now I'll use the top wrench. Once you hear that audible click, you know that it's tightened up to torque. And all I'm doing here is placing the oil filter removal tool on the oil filter, and then gently unscrewing it anti-clockwise. And I'm just going to let some of the oil drip out down through the chute here prior to removing the oil filter completely. And that's the oil filter now removed. That's where the oil filter screws on there. So we'll let the oil stop, give it a good clean, and then we'll fit the new oil filter. What I'll need to do now is I'll need to put some oil, or use some old engine oil, and just lubricate that seal there prior to fitting the filter. And it's just a case of turning anti-clockwise. Get it hand tight first of all, and then we'll use the tool and we'll tighten it up. But we don't want to over tighten it and damage the rubber seal. So same again, I'll use this special tool, and I'll use a socket. That goes into there, and then we just turn clockwise. Brake cleaner. Just get rid of any of the oil residue. just give everything a good clean now. That's a new oil filter. Right, I'll now get the car back down on the ground and we'll fill the car up with oil. Right, so as you can see there on the dipstick, it's got a lower level and a higher level. The lower being on the left, the higher being on the right, and it also says safe. So we just want to make sure that we fill up the oil level until it goes to the right hand side of the safe, which should be approximately 6.6 litres or 7 quarts. And I just want to point out the oil that I'm going to be using here in Australia is the Penrite HPR5 full synthetic. Now you can see there it's 5W40. The manufacturers do specify 040, but since I've replaced my camshaft and lifters, I just prefer the 5W40. It's just a little bit thicker and the temperature doesn't get really too cold over here in Western Australia. So I'll remove the cap, put on the oil filler cap. Give the oil level another check. Okay, and that's it now. Perfect. I've actually got a catch can here that I installed onto the vehicle some time ago. So what I do every time I service the car is I just unscrew this here at the bottom and then I just check for any oil, and hopefully it's caught some oil in there because that's obviously what it's meant to do. And there you go. So it's definitely catching oil. Now usually that would all go into your intake system. So I reckon there's maybe about 200 millilitres in there, and that's in about 6,000 Ks. And that's it all cleaned out now, ready to be refitted. And that's how much oil came out of it. So quite a bit. So I'll just refit the catch can. We just turn this clockwise to tighten, and it just has to be hand tight so we don't damage the O-ring. So the next job would be to remove and replace the OEM air filter. So it's just a case of opening this box, removing the filter and replacing it. So there's just two clips here that just pull back, and then this box just lifts up and the air filter comes out. Now I've got a K&N filter here in this vehicle, so all I'm going to do is just clean this and re-oil it and then replace it. Whereas if you've got a normal panel filter, you'll just take it out and replace it with a new one. The other thing I like to do as well is I just like to put some of this upper cylinder lubricant. It's just really nice. It really cleans out the fuel system and the injectors. It's just something I do every service. You've got to add this little special funnel. The next thing you want to do is you want to check your windscreen washer levels and also your radiator expansion tank levels. And I'll just fill them up accordingly. Okay, so that's the oil being changed, the oil filter being changed, the radiator being topped up, the washers being topped up, air filter being recharged and replaced, and also I've checked the oil in the oil catch can. So the only thing I've got left to do now is change the cabin air filter, but prior to doing that I'll start the vehicle up and I'll get it up in the air and I'll just make sure that there's no oil leaks anywhere before we proceed any further. As you can see, there's no oil leaks at all anywhere, so that's what we want to see, all good. What we'll do now is we'll get the cabin filter changed. Okay, it's just a case of removing the glove box, pulling it down, and then on the left hand side there you'll see there's a rope attached to a clip. What we want to do is just pull that clip towards us and push the glove box up the way, and that will release the tension from the clip. Right, and then there's two protruding parts here, one here and one here. We just have to pull the glove box this way and this way, where the two protruding parts are. So we push them in, like so. And then the glove box just drops out. Now, in order to gain access to the cabin filter, there's a plastic cover here, as you can see here, and there's a retaining hook here, a retaining clip. We just pull that towards us, and then the cover comes out. Now, it's very important when we're looking at this filter here to check the orientation of the flow. Now that arrow is clearly pointing down the way, so we just need to make sure that we put the filter in the exact same way that this one comes out. And as you can see, there's an arrow there facing down the way. Okay, so we'll just make sure we put this in the same way. So just grab the filter at the right hand side, push it in, and then the filter will come out. And as you can see, this filter isn't too bad, but as I say, it's not been replaced for a few years, so I'm just going to change it. The other one just pushes in. Right, so you see how that's hooking up the way? There's two hooks here, and then what happens is you have to push it in and then hook it across like that prior to pushing this side in. Right, so the three hooks just push down and in. And then as you can see, these parts here that stick out, they just hook into these holes here. So we just push it up now. You hear the click, and now it doesn't go any further, and that's it in. And you've just got to make sure that this slides up and down easy, it's not jammed in any way. Then that way you know that it's on the hinge properly at the bottom. And then the last thing we need to do now is just reattach this cord here. So the cord just slides into this hole here. So we just find the cord. Just ignore my bird there, Pepito. Just ignore him, and then that just goes in there. See? Very easy. Job done. The final part now is just to reset the service indicator. Press your starter button twice to the run position. So once, twice. Then what we'll do is we'll scroll down on the arrow key here, twice, once, twice. Now as you can see there, it's got the trans temp. So what I'll do now is I'll use the right hand side scroll button. So I'll scroll to the right hand side, and there you go, I've got the oil life service reset. Now that was done 6,274 kilometers ago. So all I need to do now is press the accelerator in and out 3 times within 10 seconds, okay? So I'll turn the ignition off, turn it back on, and then press the accelerator 3 times within 10 seconds. So once on the accelerator, twice on the accelerator, 3 times on the accelerator. And as you can see, it's been reset. And that's it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.